Some of my earliest influences were people like Sasha, Digweed, Hernan Cattaneo. And this was back in, I guess, like 2001, 2002, when we were calling that progressive house. And I know by now the genre has changed a lot. And I'd say, like nowadays, I make melodic house and melodic techno. But I've always had like a really big melodic influence in my music. And that all comes down to like playing the piano when I was younger and getting like really stuck on all those melodies. And for me, when I write music, that's some of the most important thing there is. Like, even though the beats are really good, I need that little melodic edge to keep it interesting for me. And that's something you can just see in my music as well. I do a lot of different types of music as well. So I write a lot of music for films, mostly film trailers. I've done some complete scores for a documentary. And so I write a lot of different kinds of music. Even often like guitar influenced and a lot of like original drums and those kind of things. I listen to a lot of different kinds of music as well. I enjoy almost everything as long as it's not like too aggressive sounding. I'm just really a sort of, I guess, mellow type of guy, and that's also like, you can see that in my music too. So I really hope people will download this course. I think it's a lot of fun to see me in the production process. We're basically taking this idea, this little melody, and in 2 hours, we're sort of adding drums and adding effects and developing this idea into a full track. So hopefully you'll download it. If you do, like tweet me, Facebook me. I'd love to see what you think about it. And for the melody, just for the start, I mean, at the start of a song, you'd never have it this prominent. So I'll put a filter on that to sort of see what it does, yeah. I quite like this. And I'm gonna put a little bit of reverb, take out, oh, no, there's not much bottom end in there, but just in case. Put a little bit of reverb on there as well. Just to sort of put it into the mix a little bit better. So we'll load one of those lexicon verbs here. I'll try and do everything in the box today, so I don't go to my external stuff all the time. So maybe this preset. And let's send that bell melody to the lexicon. I want it to sound a little bit shorter, otherwise, I mean, this reverb can go on for ages. But I don't want it to cloud the whole thing. Yeah, this is good. Take off a little bit more here, I think. So now I can go ahead and automate this filter over time. So I'll just make sure I can use that, add that to the automation. And then we'll let this start like really deep. Almost inaudible, I'd say. And I'm just to be sure, I'm skipping the first minute or so with the beats. That's something I always do at the end. So it's not really something I worry about when I start the track. You know, I make sure the middle part of the track is good. So I've got like everything sounding the way I want. And then when that's almost done, I copy everything to the right and then I start to make an intro. But usually not until the track is at least half done. So that's the way I'm working now as well. So I'd say this is somewhere this would be at 1.5 minutes maybe or something. So I think we can add like maybe a nice sort of drum loop. I do use a lot of drum loops all the time. Maybe I cut them up, sometimes I use them as they are, but it's a nice sort of way to get some inspiration. And I mean, sometimes in the end, I don't end up using them at all. They're sort of there to get the creative things going. And then once I add all these other things, sometimes I find they're not really needed anymore. So let's just play this all together and see if we can come up with something good. There's something about this drum loop that I actually quite like. It's got a sort of groovy kind of thing to it. I think I don't want too much of that low end in there, so I'll see what happens if I take that down a little bit. I find the low end actually works. If I don't want this too loud, but it does give the whole thing a sort of swing I quite like. So maybe I'll go ahead and put a heavy plate reverb on this. See where we get with that. Put a little pre-delay. Take some of it. It's pretty harsh in the top end, so maybe take a little bit of that off as well. Yeah. I can actually go and maybe distort it a little bit as well. It's very thin sort of sounding. This takes some of the top end off as well. Or like I don't want to distort it too loud because you're going to hear that in the bass section. Okay, so now we're just going to. What I'm going to do is try and mask this drum loop so you don't hear it too much in the mix by adding my own sound. So I'm going to go for like a nice clap sort of sound. I think this would actually do well with sidechain compression. I haven't done any of that yet, so this is maybe a good time to add some of that. And again, I'm always working at everything at the same time, so sidechain compression hasn't really come up yet so far. This is a moment where I feel it could really benefit from it, so I'll make it. Instead of having the trigger for the sidechain compressor be a kick, I'm going to go with another massive sound. And the reason I do that is because I'll just turn all of these off and have one oscillator playing. I don't want a long kick sound to be the trigger because you can't control the dynamics as clearly as you want. Like, so if I take a really short sound like this, just a really small MIDI note, and then turn the volume up here. So we're gonna turn this, yeah. So the way this sounds is, I mean, this is perfect. This is just a little click. And I'll have this turned all the way down, and then I'll go to my noise, add a compressor on that, and I'll say I want it sidechained. And on the sidechain channel, I will say the source is, or that little click from Massive is the source. So I'll send this to the sidechain, or no, sorry, to the noise. And I'll put it, this is important, I'll move it to pre-fader, because if you have it post-fader, the fader is all the way down, so you're not going to have any effect. So you move it pre-fader. So now this muted channel is sending its little clicky sound to the sidechain compressor on the noise. And what we get is this result. The nice thing is, if I turn this all the way down, say to a hold of 10 and no release, because it's such a short clicky sound, very like detailed in the way you want it to come back up and how long you want it to stay down. So you could hear, like when I put this to 50, it's almost an inaudible ducking. And I guess I don't want it this loud. I'll put it on like 37 or something. Get a hold of 80 and maybe then a release of 160. To have it, that's sort of the figures I use a lot to get it up again with the hi-hat, sort of offbeat. Yeah, it sounds pretty nice. It's actually a little bit too loud, so we'll go with something like this. Then this sound could still be a little bit more interesting, so let's try and add some phasing.